just want to talk about my Autopower roll bar installation review. So I finally got it installed. It took me about 2 days to do it, but thankfully it's all in, ready for the event tomorrow. The roll bar I got was a 6-point Autopower roll cage bolt-in, and it's with the sunroof option. So this kit originally came in black color, and I painted it white just so that it'll pop my cage a lot better, and it kind of matches the white wheels too. If you're going to paint it, I recommend painting it before you actually put the cage in. And when you do put the cage in, you will probably get some blemishes on the install too. So just be mindful of that too when you install the cage. And on the instructions, it says to install the main hoop or rear main hoop first. And I'm gonna go on the other side here so you can kind of see a better view of how I did it. But you wanna do that first, and setting that up is pretty important because it's gonna tie everything together. So let's see here. So these are the mounting points. I got 1, 2, then 3, 4. And the rear bar here also comes kind of sectioned out there. So I first put this one in, and then I put this one in afterwards. And I placed the bolt here first. And then once I kind of push this plate as far back as I can. So you want to put this plate as close to this rear wall as you can, just so you can get maximum height. And once you did that, then you can get a drill. It says it starts with a 3/8 bit, and basically just drill through the hole. And every time I made a hole, I put a bolt in there to kind of secure it. Made another hole, put a bolt through there, and again with the third hole too. And I did have an extra help here. My wife helped me kind of stabilize this roll cage here, just because it does tend to just sag down. So I needed the extra help because it is kind of heavy. So she helped me out a lot with that, kind of aligning the cage to where I want it. And so after you make the holes here, then what I did is I put these mounting tabs, if you can see it there. You can see like this, the backing plate there basically on there. And I put the nut on there, and I just loosely put it in. I didn't hand tighten it or anything, just got the nut in the bolt and then called it a day, because you're gonna be adjusting things and you wanna make sure everything fits right. So after I got the mounting bolts put in here and just loosely put them in, then I focused on the front part of the car, the hoops here. And so I adjusted the hoops to mainly forward or backward to the right, I guess, length for it, to where this, let's see here, let me get my light. That this main mounting tab isn't too far to the front where I can't bolt it in at all, because you got to be mindful that down here there's like a little frame there, this little notch. Let's see if you can find it. Yep. So this little notch there, here, the frame right there, gets in the way. So you want to, like right here, so you just want to be mindful of that, because if you put the forward hoop too forward, you're actually going to drill here, and the bolt won't be long enough to get through here. So just be mindful of that when you place that mounting tab there. So once you kind of determine the right length that you want it to be, then you can start drilling your holes for the front part of the hoops here. And then like again, like I said, I placed the bolts on there, kind of loosely did it, and then I focused on this front part here. Oh, I forgot to mention, when I did this front hoop, you also have to make sure you put the sleeves in here too before you start drilling that too. So put the sleeves in, then drill. And with this one here, it's the same thing, where basically you put your sleeves in first, and then you slide the sleeve back out here, and once you kind of position the sleeves where you want it to be and everything else feels snug and tight, then you start drilling holes in these sleeves, hence bolt on. And it's pretty custom, I guess, at this point, because Autopower didn't do pre-drilled holes like what they did in the back hoops here. I'm just guessing because every car is going to be different, the lengths are going to be different, so they just let the person that bought the cage do it themselves. And it's not too hard. You first drill 1/4 inch hole, then you go up to a 3/8 inch. The only part that was pretty tough was the actual metal itself. It's just pretty hard steel, and I have a Milwaukee cordless drill, which helped a lot, but the drill bit I had originally was this titanium drill bit, and it worked for one hole only. Then when I went to the second hole, it felt pretty dull. It wasn't really cutting through the metal very good. So I went to Harbor Freight the next day and bought this Cobalt drill bit, which is actually recommended for pretty thick steel or hardened steel. And I cut through the steel pretty easy. I did use a lot of battery though. I had to, every 2 holes I drilled, I ended up emptying my battery on my drill, but I did have a spare battery, so while the battery was charging, I was drilling the 2 holes, and by the time it emptied its battery, my second battery was pretty much charged up, and I plugged that in to work on the second holes here, or the other holes there. So I just kind of alternated it basically, and it wasn't too hard. Once you put the bolts in here, kind of tying them by hand only, then I started to use the impact on the mounting plates. And what I did was I first started in the middle, and then back, and then front. So I kind of did like a star-ish pattern here. And after I used the impact, I then hand tightened it again just to make sure that nothing was loose. And you know, my wife helped me out with that too, where while she was inside the car, you know, using the wrench for the nut or for the bolt, I used my impact and my hand ratchet to tighten down the mounts there from the bottom. So once I got that all tightened up, then I went to proceed to the sleeves here, and I did from back, that, then that guy. So after I tightened it all up, it's pretty sturdy and strong here. The car feels super stiff driving on the streets here. The only issues I've had was basically, I did wish that this was this non-sunroof roll cage, because I did get the sunroof option because I do have a sunroof, but obviously it's stripped. But without the sunroof option, I'm pretty sure this hoop will be a little bit higher. And I do know they made it lower with the sunroof just because of the headliner and all this other stuff that's possibly gonna, you know, make this bar shorter. So yeah, if you had a full interior, definitely go with what your car has. But if you're totally stripped and your car does have sunroof, or did have sunroof, then just go with the no sunroof option here. Because what happened was I'm 5'10", and unfortunately with my original seating position, my helmet was actually hitting this hoop here, and it was pretty uncomfortable. Like, I felt my neck was kind of tilted to the side because my helmet was just resting on here. So without my helmet, you know, my head had plenty of clearance and it wasn't going to hit this at all, but with my helmet being kind of big, unfortunately it was hitting this. So what I had to do was actually remove the padding off my seat here, and then actually lowered my seat to the lowest position it can on my Bride Lomax seat here, and that gave me enough clearance where my helmet would clear my roll cage, and I have plenty of head movement if I needed to. So that's what I had to do. I went with the roll cage because my shoulder harness, unfortunately, the original way it was set up was actually mounted to the back here, to like the rear seat belts were, and that's not the most safest position when you're actually tracking, since the angle of the seatbelt is going to be like this, of the shoulder seatbelt, it's going to be like below 45 degrees. So that you're kind of in a risk for spinal compression if you did get an accident. They recommend on the shoulder harness being leveled or almost like 0 degrees, basically horizontal to your shoulder here. And that's why I did it. Yeah, I could have got a harness bar or a half cage, which is basically just this back part and that's it. But you know, since I'm going to be tracking this car a lot and going to be using this car for quite some time, I decided just to go all out and just get the full cage. But I didn't want to be like too custom or too hard of a work that I couldn't do, because they do have the welding options, but since I'm not a good welder or even have any welding experience or tools, I did the bolt-on just for the DIYer type of person. And looks to me pretty good here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see y'all hopefully some events and stuff, and see y'all soon. Bye.